Hello and welcome to Dusty VCR, the podcast where we rewatch movies from our childhood and decide whether they still hold up. I'm joined by my sister, Rachel.
Hello.
And our friend, Xena.
Hey.
And I am Michael. Okay, and the first movie we're going to talk about is Multiplicity. Rachel, what was your memory of Multiplicity?
I don't really have a specific memory of Multiplicity. I can't remember times when we watched it specifically, but I remember us using certain lines a lot.
Like what?
Most notably, I want pizza.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Remember that.
So that was the big one that I remember us using a lot, and with that, I have a very, very strong memory of Four putting a slice of pizza into his wallet.
Right.
So those are my two fondest memories
right.
of Multiplicity.
And Xena, did you have any awareness of Multiplicity before you watched it?
No, I had not heard of Multiplicity.
Okay.
Nor had I seen it.
Uh-huh.
Like most of the childhood movies that you guys watched.
Also most of the world.
Like most of the world, I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
So I think just a few weeks ago, you guys were telling me about it, and we watched the trailer.
Right.
And I thought it looked like a whoop-worthy movie, was my first impression. Yeah.
A whoop-worthy?
Whoop-worthy, yes.
Okay,
you know,
good.
It deserved a good whoop-whoop at the end.
Which we did do.
Which we did at the end, yes.
That's the only thing we've said about the movie so far, because so Xena and I watched the movie together with our friend Barrick, and we had strict instructions to not discuss the movie at all during or after the movie.
Wait, instructions from who?
From you.
Oh,
from
right.
you and ourselves.
Oh, right.
And ourselves.
And our moral,
self-discipline.
Your
moral compass. So, going into it, I remembered I want some pizza. I have that written down. I remembered the joke about Vista Donata. So I remember,
That's a subtle joke.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I remember it being more explicit. I remember them saying Vista Donata, but they never do.
No.
And I remember feeling like very proud that our family got that joke. That if you didn't speak Spanish, if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't know that Vista Donata means view of nothing. I remember it was like one of the first movies where they did visual effects where they had the same person in like twice, and like I remember like scenes where they would kind of show off that they could do that, like Michael Keaton bumping chest with himself when they first create two.
High fives.
Yeah, where it's like they're kind of showing off, like, look what we can do. We can do this. I was worried about whether the jokes would still be okay, because so 2 is fine. 3, in my memory, I couldn't remember if Michael Keaton was playing him effeminate or if he was like a parody of a gay man. And so I was like, ooh, I really hope this is like as okay as I remember. And then 4 is somebody who's mentally challenged, and I was like, is that going to be like really weird today?
Right.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts going into it. Do you guys want to...
Well, so I wanted to share a couple quotes from before we watched the movie. We talked about this with my roommate Jeff, and he knew Multiplicity, and so when we mentioned to him that that's the movie we were going to watch, he said, "I like movies that have a happy ending. I'm not giving anything away." And I don't know why he said that exactly. But I wondered if when you heard that you had any idea of what that was going to mean.
Well, when I watched the trailer, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like are the clones going to have to kill each other? Like who's going to get the wife at the end? So it very possibly could have not had a happy ending. So it was a bit of a spoiler. I was like, oh, I kind of see how this is going to work out.
Was that comforting to you?
Yeah, you could say that.
So that was basically going to turn into like a battle royale for Andie MacDowell.
Right. Who's Andie MacDowell?
Andie MacDowell's the wife.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so one of my goals during watching this movie and for this podcast is to become a little more educated on actors' names.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned who Michael Keaton is.
Yes,
so I got that
important.
one. And
there was one of my quotes that I was going to share. I don't even know who Michael Keaton is from Xena. And that was within the context of us talking about the fact that we were going to watch Multiplicity.
And then, so Barrett gave me a good example. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is Michael Keaton, but he's covered in all the makeup, so I didn't have a sense of who Michael Keaton is. So he gave me another example. Batman. Once again, he's wearing a mask. So, but now I know. I know.
Now you get so many faces of Michael Keaton in this movie.
Many examples.
Yeah.
Right.
So going into it, what can we just do the reveal? Like, did you think it held up?
I loved it.
Oh, me too. I was so happy.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was so good. Like all the things, it was just like so satisfying. Like there were so many scenes that were like ridiculous, but I didn't mind just because they're fun.
Yeah, I think in my memory of it, I thought it was going to be very much like a lot of jokes that were so silly that only like a little kid would really find so funny. Mm-hmm. But they were so silly and well done.
Right. So just like starting from the beginning, where we see Michael Keaton, he's very busy. He's like a construction guy. It's like something at a construction company.
Yeah.
But he's very busy and he works with people that aren't very good, including Eugene Levy, who I was very happy to see. Eugene Levy is the
Vic. Eugene Levy, played by Vic.
Yeah. Vic doing a very good Eugene Levy.
For Xena.
I was so happy to see Eugene Levy. I can't remember if I remembered if Eugene Levy was in it.
Oh.
But yeah, he was great. He had a very small part, but it was Eugene Levy as always.
Right.
And so he's very busy. He comes home and things are very busy at his house, and they don't really get into it that much, but you can see that his house is kind of under construction.
Well, they get into that later.
In the end.
Yeah.
But throughout the movie, you're just seeing his house under construction. Oh, and then they fire somebody else, so he has to take on more work. Mm-hmm. And there's a moment in the movie where he's telling Andie MacDowell that he has to take on more work, and she's like, "Oh, who's going to take on all this extra work?" And he says, "Oh, I'll give you a hint. You're sleeping with him." And she says, "Oh, the video store guy." And it reminded me that when we were little, our mom would joke that this toll taker was her secret boyfriend, and I don't know if it was, I think it was before this movie. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, other people make jokes about having a secret boyfriend. And when I was little, I didn't understand. I thought she just kind of arbitrarily picked this guy, but looking back, it couldn't have been the same guy. It was just anytime we'd go through this toll, my mom would say oh, that's my secret boyfriend. And after a while, I was like, wait, is that really her secret? Is something going on? Because I just didn't appreciate at the time that a toll taker is kind of a low status job, and that wouldn't be somebody that would be your secret boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that you have such brief encounters with
them.
There's no way that you could ever build a relationship on that.
I mean, I think this brings up one of the big themes of the movie, which plays on this human fear of what is real,
Exactly.
What is real? What is really going on?
Right.
Are these people in my life, are they real?
Yeah.
These objects in front of me.
Yeah,
this could all be an illusion.
It actually does get into some kind of weird dark places.
Some sort of existential kind of stuff.
Yeah, they don't get, they kind of sidestep it, but okay, just moving forward a little bit, he decides they're doing a job. Well, so first of all, I like that they're doing a job. Michael Keaton's doing a construction job at a research center while the scientists are just walking by. So they're constantly doing all this construction and water spraying everywhere. And there's scientists 5 feet away. They're oh, you guys aren't doing a very good job.
They just like to hang out and watch.
The other thing I didn't appreciate as a kid was that the place was called Gemini Institute. Gemini's twins. Yeah. A lot of little subtle signs and stuff in this movie.
Uh-huh.
Are you a Gemini?
I am not. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
So
for the record, I'm a Libra.
And I'm a Capricorn.
Okay, good that we got that on record. And so he's at this institute, and the scientist sees that Michael Keaton's stressed out and is oh, I can help you, I can make time. And he doesn't know what he's talking about, and then it's finally revealed that this doctor can clone people. And so actually, like, within a day, like, he doesn't even go home and discuss it with his wife. He just, like, the doctor tells him. And day of, he, like, undergoes, like, all this, like, really advanced surgery without discussing with anybody. But that's fine.
Surgery. They didn't even go in there.
Yeah, that was the funny thing, too, is they, like, knock him out when they really, like, all they need to do is, like, take his blood, I think, and maybe scan him.
Yeah, they scanned him. I don't know, and then they just, like, pop out a new clone.
Yeah, they make a new clone, and so, he brings home the new clone, and...
It's just, like, normal.
It's normal. He just so happens to have, like, a spare living quarters above his garage.
That his family never goes into.
Yeah, that nobody ever looks at.
So, I also was thinking, when he goes to get the cloning procedure, like, is he still supposed to be at work?
Yeah, nobody seems to notice that he's gone, or... But he just, like, abandons the job for the day, and I'm just like, okay, sure, that's fine. Like,
right.
Yeah, like, he just, like, gets cloned, and then the next day, like, they also, like, never really plan anything out in ways you would expect. So, like, the clone, who's throughout the movie referred to as 2, he's supposed to, like, take over, help out at Michael Keaton's job. But they never, like, discuss how that's supposed to work. So the original Michael Keaton goes into work the next day, and one of the secretaries is like, aren't you already in that meeting? And so then he realized that, like, the clone went to the meeting already, and, like, he's already in there. And I love that scene where Michael Keaton is trying to explain, like, what happened, and he's like, oh, I spilled coffee on my shirt, so I went out to my car and changed shirts. But then he realized that, like, he's gonna have to explain why the other Michael Keaton's coming out of the meeting,
right,
and he can't go in. But that's just one of those scenes where, like, it's so silly, but it's so satisfying. Just seeing him, like, try to explain away and, like, avoid somebody figuring out that he's a clone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other big scene, like, that was in the restaurant.
Oh,
That was, like,
That's such a great scene.
I loved it.
That's an amazing scene.
So Michael Keaton goes with Andie MacDowell he, like, takes her out on a date to a restaurant. Actually, like, to tell her that that's the other part is, like, Andie MacDowell wants to go back to work. She'd been raising the kids, and that's part of it. Like, after he got a clone, he told her that she could go back to work. And then, because he realized he's, like, spending so much time with the kids, he takes her on this date to a fancy restaurant just to tell her that she can't work anymore.
Right, because
kind of weird.
After getting burnt out from work and then burnt out from the kids, he realizes that
he doesn't want
anything
or kids.
So he takes her to this restaurant and then realizes that his clone is already at the restaurant. And he has to prevent Andie MacDowell from seeing his clone, and then the clone also has to prevent his date, Ann Cusack.
Ann Cusack, yeah, we didn't mention that yet.
Yeah, Ann Cusack is in the movie.
Where did she come from?
Yeah.
And where did she go?
Yeah, she's not in it for much. It's kind of a waste of a Cusack. But yeah, so then, like, they end up in the bathroom together, both at the restaurant.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And then, they end up switching dates. And so they walk out with different jackets.
Right, because the clone's date, Ann Cusack is waiting outside the bathroom for Michael Keaton, and the wrong one comes out. The original comes out.
Right.
And he doesn't want to go home with her, but, like, he kind of has to, and then he has to avoid Andie MacDowell seeing them. So they're, like, hiding and trying to avoid that.
Right, and he tells his wife that, you know, he switched jackets in the bathroom with another man, and men do that all the time.
Right, that's a common thing. Yeah, we just switch jackets. We do that all the time. But then, they switch, and the clone Michael Keaton has to, like, distract Andie MacDowell, which is original Michael Keaton's wife, and so he just, like, hardcore makes out with her. Which, like, that's kind of a weird thing, because it's like somebody else is making out with Andie MacDowell. But that's also, like, that's one of the, like, heavier things that I feel like they never talk about. So, like, if you're Michael Keaton's clone, he wakes up and thinks he's the original Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
So now he goes home and, like, sees his wife that he's been married to for, like, 15 years.
He has to go into his little second house and start a new life. He has to, like, basically give up everything from his whole life.
Right.
Which they slightly
they get into a little bit.
It's so minimal. Like, he pretty quickly adapts the bachelor lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. But that's like part of the joke, that, like, he adopts this persona of, like, very, like, macho, work all the time guy. But he very quickly forgets that he, like, has kids or loves them, and, like, throughout the movie, like, never seems to care that much about the kids.
Yeah.
And, like, he's interested in Andie MacDowell and that she's attractive. Like, later in the movie, he's like, he can start by cloning Andie MacDowell.
Right.
But that seems to be as much as, like, he's never really that sad that he can't see his wife anymore.
No.
Except that he uses that as a line on Ann Cusack, that his wife is sleeping with another man.
Yeah.
Well, just going back to when 2 wakes up and he thinks that he's the real Doug.
Right.
I was thinking, you know, they could put an M. Night Shyamalan twist on this movie, and in the end, 2 was 1 and 1 was 2, you know?
That's true. Yeah, that was something also that didn't come up with the other clones, is like, once 3 comes around, he's just ready to be 3.
Right.
And he's a totally different guy.
Right.
He's just like so ready to be there for his wife and kids,
right,
who are not his wife and kids. Right. But he's just gonna be there like a really nice, like, nanny.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. So it gets to a point where, like, Michael Keaton realized that he's spending so much time on, like, home duties that he has to clone himself again, and he clones himself as 3, and that's the clone that's, like, the nanny clone.
Right.
And let me just say, Michael Keaton deserved an Oscar for his portrayal of 3. He was so good as 3. Everything 3 did, it was amazing. I just, like, loved everything he said. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh. When he's talking about how, like, Michael Keaton needs to, he's like, that guy is stressed. And just the way that, like,
he's just so sweet.
He's so sweet, and, like, the way that 2 and 3 play off each other.
Yeah. And
they're both Michael Keaton. It's great.
Yeah, I think what the movie does really well, or I guess I should say what Michael Keaton does really well in the movie, is it's very easy to forget that it's the same guy playing all of those roles, and it's very easy to forget also that he doesn't have someone to play off of when he's acting in these scenes where it's just him.
Right.
You know, and I was trying to figure out, would they have stand-ins, like, be in place of one of the clones, or how would that work?
Yeah, I read how they did it. They would have doubles, and so they would just, the double would read his lines, and then they would just reshoot it and, like, splice the 2 together.
Gotcha.
But it's like kind of fun looking back, because, like, if you were to see that in a movie now, movie technology is just, like, so far beyond, like, anything we can even really, like, Multiplicity, you can kind of, like, understand what the visual effects were. It's like, okay, like, they shot this twice and then just, like, erase this part of the screen.
Right.
Whereas now with stuff where it's, like, on green screen, you just really have no idea what's going on at all.
Mm-hmm.
What is real? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to Xena's question of what is real. But this, like, it was kind of fun where you're like, and I think that is kind of why they're teasing the audience with these things, like, when they're, like, high-fiving or, like, chest bumping, you're like, oh, that's hard because we don't know how they're doing that.
Right.
But it's like, it's close enough that we're kind of like, we can understand most of it, but we don't understand how they get to that. Mm-hmm. But did you feel like the visual effects held up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I thought they were great.
I thought they were, but at the beginning I was, like, really paying attention to it, and you kind of notice the timing is a little bit off.
Huh.
Especially with the psychiatrist, like, so, or not the psychiatrist, the scientist,
right.
is the cloning scientist. He's the first clone you see. And so I noticed there, like, the timing felt a little bit off. But then after I stopped really scrutinizing it, it was very easy to forget. And, like, you do just kind of fall into, oh, okay, it's just all these people. And then you kind of have to remind yourself that they're all Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised how easy it was to just, like, oh, okay, like, just forget that they're doing any kind of effects.
Right.
Okay, so he clones himself, he invents 3. Mm-hmm. Then he, like, starts trying to learn to sail. Mm-hmm. And did you recognize who, so he goes to sail with this guy Walt. Did you recognize who Walt's, was that his wife or daughter? I was disturbed by that.
I was very confused by that. Was he talking about making love with that woman?
I couldn't tell. So it's like, Walt is like, it's Brian Doyle Murray, who always looks kind of 60 years old. I don't know how old he actually was.
What is his name?
Brian Doyle Murray. It's Bill Murray's brother.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And so you don't know who the wife was?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Well, wife, whatever she
was. Hopefully daughter.
Whatever that woman was.
Hopefully wife.
Hopefully wife.
Xena's hoping for wife.
On the boat. No, I know who she was.
Right.
But I think I knew that in the past or something.
I didn't. So it's Julie Bowen from Modern Family. And so watching it,
Oh, okay.
Do you know who that?
The
who
wife
that
in
is?
Modern Family?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Phil Dunphy, Claire Dunphy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like Phil Dunphy's wife.
But when I was watching it, I was like, I couldn't make that connection. But I what I did think was, oh, I think it's the same actress that was in Happy Gilmore. That's like the love interest in Happy Gilmore. But I was like, no, that's Julie Bowen. That's the woman from Modern Family, so it can't be.
Oh.
But it was. But for some reason, like I just couldn't connect all the way.
Yeah, she looks really different in it.
Yeah. And so yeah, like he kind of disappears for a while and like is trying to learn to sail. I didn't quite know what was going on there.
I don't know how long he was away.
Right.
I thought so he's away and they mess up his whole life, right?
Right. So I think he goes
Wait.
away for a few days.
This is after 4 comes along. We haven't mentioned 4.
Oh, we haven't mentioned
along
4.
yet.
Right. Yeah, so the clones are realizing that they're too overwhelmed with their duties. And so 2 clones himself to get 4, who is they like he's mentally challenged. Like they say he's special and
Right.
The way they put it is like a copy of a copy, is not as
sharp as the original.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, he's like kind of off and like he thinks Michael Keaton, whose character's name is Doug, but 4 thinks his name is Steve and is always like wearing goggles or some kind of crazy outfit.
Bye, Steve, come party.
So, yeah, what did you guys think of 4? Does that hold up? Would they be able to do that today?
I felt like kind of like, ooh.
I feel like that would not fly today.
Yeah, there were certain lines.
It wasn't terribly offensive. I don't know, maybe it was, but
Yeah, it's like it could have been worse.
it definitely could have been worse. They make him pretty endearing.
Right. And they don't. So there were like a couple lines where I felt like it was. There was one part when Doug first meets him and says, "Oh, we need to get a cage." I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I shouldn't say that."
That's probably not a good one.
But other times they're just kind of like, sort of teasing him and not. I don't know. Like they call him like Mr. Wizard and they call him Rain Man at one point, which
they call him Rain Man.
Okay.
I think a couple of times, which
Okay.
I don't think would go so good in today's audience. So it sort of 4 almost becomes their child.
Right.
It's like 4, they become caretakers for 4.
Right. There are really
they
cute
don't
scenes
need
of him.
a family anymore because they have their own little family,
Right.
which is them, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
Who plays 4?
Michael Keaton. Wait, are you really asking?
Yeah.
That was Michael Keaton.
I thought it was a different actor.
No.
It wasn't?
No, it was Michael Keaton.
Oh my god. Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
You really didn't think it was Michael Keaton?
No, I really did not. Well, at first I did, but then I was like, no, he looks different. He looks
He actually
kind of like
does.
shorter and like a little
Yeah.
scrawnier and like his jaw looks different. I was like, oh, that's someone else.
Well, he just has he does a totally different like body shape
And
yeah,
voice.
yeah.
and voice and
Yeah.
facial expression.
I guess
everything.
that just speaks to how good Michael Keaton is in that movie.
Deserved an Oscar. So then there's the part where the original Michael Keaton leaves and goes on this sailing trip for like a few days, I guess.
Well, I think they actually say how long he's been away, and I was trying to listen for it, and then I forgot.
Yeah, I thought it was like 3 days or something.
Oh yeah.
I thought he said a day.
Well, everything goes haywire in pretty much just one day.
Okay, yeah.
Oh no, it actually doesn't.
I thought maybe he says, I leave for 1 day, and you guys...
No, it couldn't have been 1 day. Too much stuff happens.
Well, it's a movie. He was cloned 3
Right.
times.
Wait, is this a movie or real life?
This is a documentary about an experiment that Michael Keaton participated in. But we actually jumped ahead. We skipped one. Actually, like in our family, one of the often quoted lines was TTF, Tuck Tuck Fold.
Right.
So when 3 is showing Andie MacDowell how to like properly fold leftovers in aluminum foil. He like goes on this whole thing where he's like, can't have air in there. Air is our enemy.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is tuck, tuck, fold. TTF.
That's a good scene.
So that was a classic line in our family.
And when he scrunches her hair,
Right,
to fix it. Yeah, that's it is interesting the way they portray 3, because it does seem like he's kind of playing somewhat of a stereotypical gay man,
right,
but he's very into the sex with Andie MacDowell.
Right.
So. And
when they're having that party, like 2 brings home the girls from the like convenience store.
Right.
3 is like watching them dance and seems like into it.
He seems kind of into it. I mean, it seems that I think could be. That's
not necessarily.
That's not an indicator necessarily
right.
of his sexualdy,
right?
But more so when he sleeps with Andie MacDowell,
right? So let's get to that.
Like he enjoys that.
So yeah, Michael Keaton goes away, and then they like change the plan. So usually, like original Michael Keaton is the only one that gets to sleep in bed with Andie MacDowell, but because original Michael Keaton's going to be gone, he has 3 stay like in his house night and day, and so obviously that's going to create problems with Andie MacDowell. So like to avoid them like Andie MacDowell sleeping with him, he says that
he's got a sore throat and a fever.
Right, he has to pretend that he has like a bronchial infection, and so he does. But then Andie MacDowell like pops up with sexy lingerie, but like PG-13 sexy lingerie.
Yeah, sexy lingerie dress.
Sexy lingerie dress.
Yeah.
And then she gets in bed with 3, and this is a thing that I did not remember when I was a kid. It's pretty, like, she's giving him a hand job.
Uh-huh.
I didn't notice that when I was a kid. I thought she's just, like, rubbing him. I didn't understand what was happening.
His chest or something?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, she's, like, rubbing his body in a general way.
Right.
Yeah, it was very obvious in the movie what was going on.
I didn't understand that. And then the other thing that I thought was funny about that scene is the book falls, and they, like, do a close-up on the book, and it's the Celestine Prophecy. And I remember as a kid, our parents being like, oh my god, it's the Celestine Prophecy, that's so funny. And me not really understanding why that was funny. And as an adult, I'm like, oh, I'm an adult now, like, now I'm going to get why this is funny. I'm like, oh wait, I still don't understand. Like, did you guys?
No.
I don't know. Yeah, no.
And then I even looked up the book. It's like a book about New Age wisdom, and even after looking it up, I still don't undernd why that's funny.
You should probably phone a friend and call mom and dad.
Call mom.
Find out why that's funny.
I think it would be sort of like today if he was reading The Secret. That's my best guess.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's like not a book that you would expect the husband of a wife and husband to be reading.
I see. Okay.
So you're saying spirituality and New Age wisdom is for ladies only.
Well, not for the construction husband. And so, yeah, then that happens, and then 2 sneaks into the house, and then Andie MacDowell... So Andie MacDowell...
hungry.
Because he's hungry. Andie MacDowell goes down...
Because 4 ate every box of cereal and put them
and all the bologna.
Put them all back on the shelf.
Right.
Oh, right.
And so then Andie MacDowell... What is Andie MacDowell making?
She's eating graham crackers and...
Chocolate milk.
And chocolate milk.
That doesn't seem like that appetizing. Is that something people eat? It didn't seem
I
that
don't
appetizing.
Think people do that. It made me want to eat it.
Oh,
she makes it look good.
She does make it look good.
She wears graham crackers really well.
Yeah. So then she goes downstairs and she runs into 2, and then who initiates that? She's just like really excited again and wants to have sex with 2.
Yes. And he's also trying to have sex, mainly trying to eat.
Right. He like does trying to avoid her a little bit.
Yeah, for like a second.
Right.
And then they have sex on the couch.
Which again, that's his old wife.
Right. Yeah. Like, but he's kind of approaching her as if she's just like a new woman. It's like he's approaching it as if like he's sleeping with somebody else's wife.
Well, right. He definitely doesn't seem really, like longing for his old wife.
Right. It didn't feel like a reunion of like, oh, finally I have this woman I've been missing for a long time.
Right. Which I have no idea how long this movie takes place over.
Right.
Yeah.
So at least, like probably a few months. That was my sense. The clones exist for a few months.
Right. And he does such a good job keeping that secret.
Right.
Still, even in the end,
right.
She still doesn't know.
Right. But then there's the last sex. Is that in the morning? No, that's still in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Then 4, the mentally challenged clone comes in because he gets scared by lightning. So he comes in, and MacDowell sees him, and then like brings him to the bathroom and undresses him, and then they end up having sex.
Right.
And then that was kind of weird because it's like...
And the other one is in the shower.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because he's like trying to prevent Andie MacDowell from realizing that he's also like she can't go upstairs and see 2 just in bed, and so 3 is like, sorry for yelling about the kid.
Oh yeah.
It's just like yelling to warn 2 or 3 actually.
Right.
But then Andie MacDowell brings 4 into the bathroom and undresses him, and then realizes that he seems excited and wants to have sex again. But then there I'm like, something is off with consent here. Like, 4 doesn't seem able to like consent to whatever's happening to him. Also, they're like Andie MacDowell is sleeping with people she thinks are not. It'd be like dressing up in a costume and like tricking Andie MacDowell into thinking that you're her husband. Like, she's sleeping with all these people that she thinks are her husband, and
yeah, there's a couple different ethical dilemmas going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Something was off with that. But then I can't even remember now. How does it all fall apart? Oh, because he gets fired. Right.
Well, he
gets fired.
2 gets sick.
2 gets sick.
And he can't go to the inspection party. And so 3 goes, which just seemed like a bad idea.
Right, because he's not going to know anything that happened, even though
like, what would have happened if there were no clones and the real Doug got sick? Would he have just?
Right. It seems like that wasn't a problem that
fired.
Right. It's like not a problem that was caused by clones.
Right. Problems caused by clones.
Yeah.
That's gonna be our next podcast.
Right. Yeah, so he gets fired, and then he like snaps at Andie MacDowell, and then
4. Well, Andie MacDowell's talking to 4, who's in the garage.
No, this is before that.
This is before. 2 is in the kitchen, and he's all sick and looking for food.
Tells her
he got cold medicine or something, and he tells her that he got fired.
Right.
And he snaps at her.
Oh, okay.
And then she gets mad, and then then that leads to the conversation with 4, where
she comes out to talk to him in the garage. Right. It's 4,
right?
And his only response is that he wants pizza.
Right.
She wants to know what he wants with their relationship and life, and
also I felt like that was like pizza. Pretty good acting on Andie MacDowell's part, where she like has to act against a guy who's just like turning his back to her and like playing with an airplane, and she's giving this very dramatic speech about like, I have to know your feelings, it scares me, and then I want some pizza.
Yeah.
So then Andie MacDowell disappears and takes the kids, and original Michael Keaton comes back, and he's upset. So then what was his plan? His plan is kind of silly, because it's just like, oh, I'll just fix the house, and then my marriage will be okay.
Right.
And that sort of works. They like, all the clones get together. It's not like he really learns anything from that.
No, I have one of my questions for my notes. I wrote, "What's the moral of the story?" And I thought we could discuss what each of us thinks the moral of the story might be.
Yeah. What do you guys think the moral was? I think Xena thinks it's what is real.
The moral is actually a question.
Moral is a question that you ask yourself.
The moral is you don't really know anything.
Right.
I thought there's 2 different morals that it could be. The first is don't clone yourself.
That's a good lesson.
Right.
Go to therapy, don't clone yourself.
Go to therapy, don't clone yourself. Or the alternative is do clone yourself. Have a breakdown, and then put your life together way better after you see how everything fell apart when you had clones.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's a good lesson.
Yeah. Or you could also be honest. Be honest with the people that you love about the fact that you have clones.
Right. Yeah, why not just tell Andie MacDowell, like, hey,
why
I got a clone.
hide it?
Right. Also, why in the movie it's not common knowledge that there are clones.
It's not common knowledge at all.
You can only get them if you meet this doctor.
That one doctor, and he seems to have a lab full of clones.
Right. He's very cavalier about just giving out clones, but nobody else knows. Yeah, the moral for me is, I guess, just simplicity. Like, just simplify. Because that's what he ends up, and I guess appreciate your life, because he... Yeah, that's the big thing. Like, 3 at the end tells him, like, oh, you said the thing to me about low quality time. It's all quality time.
That's right.
So yeah, I think it's just like appreciating that you're like getting to spend the time with the people you like.
Well, I think 3 really is the one who's got it all together the most.
Right. Yeah.
3 is kind of the master.
Always happy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's really sort of practicing gratitude and mindfulness.
Right.
And he's just present. He's just there for his family.
Right. He's very content to do pretty much anything that he's asked to do, and like enjoys spending time with Andie MacDowell and the kids. And
right. And he really puts his all into the things that he does.
Right. So on the topic of 3, when they're renovating the house, so he gets all the clones to help him out, like renovate the house and finish up all the work that was in progress. And what I love is like all the clones are all dirty from like working on a house, and 3 is in like they're each wearing jerseys that Michael Keaton made for them with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everybody else's jersey is dirty. 3's
You're
jersey
saying
is
Michael Keaton, but
Doug.
Michael Keaton is all of them.
Michael Keaton is all of them. The original clone.
Doug.
Doug, yeah, 1. 3's jersey is like tucked into his pants. He's like pristine. He's wearing a collared shirt under the jersey.
Right.
He made sandwiches for everybody. He's like, I made you these sandwiches. He's like, oh, those are my favorite. He's like, I know. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really tasty sounding sandwiches too. It was like not just a tuna sandwich.
It was curried like chicken salad sandwich, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fancy.
And so then they finish, they like renovate the house, and like he goes and begs Andie MacDowell. I enjoyed that because he shows up to Andie MacDowell and he's like, look, I'm not going to stand out here and beg. He like has kind of a dickish apology.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he's like, gets on his knees like, oh my God, please come back. I enjoyed that, like that turn.
Yeah.
And so he brings her back and she's very impressed by the house, and then that's pretty much all she needed. She's like, okay, you finished the house, so now we're back together.
Mm-hmm. Right. Which, made me think of today's Marie Kondo society would be all about that, because he really just simplified his life, which is what you were saying, that's what you need to do, is simplify your life.
Right.
And that's what he did. He just got all that work done that he needed to get done, took out all the clutter.
Right.
Including his clones.
Yeah, he sends his clones away.
Yeah.
He gives them his car.
Where did they go? Venice Beach?
They drive off.
They go to Florida, right?
Oh yeah, they're going to Florida.
I think they go to Miami.
Oh, Miami.
Yeah, they go to Miami. Right. Yeah, that's another thing they don't really address is like how they just show up in Miami with like no identification or anything. And
place to live.
Or they all have the exact same identification.
Oh, right.
Because the cloning lab also is good at forging documents. Like when 4 shows them a wallet with like a duplicate of all of Doug's cards and IDs. So it's like, yeah, we can clone humans, so like IDs probably aren't a problem for us either. Yeah. But then like that's the other thing. I remember like our parents growing up kind of being like, well, how are they paying? Like, it's not like you just get a free person. They're not robots. Like, you still have to pay for all these people. And
the whole movie. I don't remember Mom and Dad talking about that, but that's what I was thinking the whole time. Is like, it's you're having to have the additional cost of these 3 people,
right?
One salary
in your budget.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't cost that much because like
they just eat cereal.
You have a house for them already. I guess they'd all be in the same medical insurance because, like, they're the same guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I was wondering if they would get the same medical conditions.
Well, not, because one gets sick while the other one, and they've been in the same house. Well, I guess, like, 2 is socializing more.
That's more like, that's kind of like environmental, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess they wouldn't.
And so, yeah, like, at the end, he gives away his car. Andie MacDowell sees all the clones and doesn't really question why a bunch of Michael Keatons are driving away and what she thinks is her car.
She thinks she's seeing things.
Right. She's just like...
just thought...
She's so in love.
She's so in love.
Right.
Because he fixed her house and everything's perfect now.
Yeah.
But I remember having... Like, I don't remember if I got that from this movie, but I remember as a kid, like, having a crush on somebody and seeing people look like them and being like, oh, I must really... Like, because when you're, like, 13, you're like, oh, I want to see that my feelings are really real. Mm-hmm. And I would, like, see somebody that reminds me of them a lot and be like, oh, I'm, like, seeing them... I'm just, like, seeing people that remind me of this person a lot, so, like, I must really be in love.
Right.
But I don't know if I got that from this movie or that was just, like, a thing that people say that was just, like, in the ether at the time. Mm-hmm. Because it's not something I would think of now. Of, like, oh, like, I I'm dating this person. Oh, that person kind of looks like them. Oh, I must really like the person I'm dating.
I mean, I'm usually just walking down the street being like, Rachel, that's you? Oh, Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Rachel, I'm over here.
So yeah, I guess that is a real thing.
It's real.
It's real for us.
It's real for us, and that is the one thing I'm sure of is real in this life.
So it wraps up with he decides he's gonna like do smaller contracts like birdhouses and mailboxes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna start out with those things. Yeah, and so they get back to the simple life. Anything else we haven't covered? Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about was the kids. What did you guys think of the kid acting in this movie?
I almost don't remember it.
That's funny because like one of the notes I had like before I watched it is I have zero memory of the kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like very distinctly Andie MacDowell and Michael Keaton. I knew that he had kids, but I couldn't remember them doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like they're very forgettable. They like don't act very well, but they don't
act very well. They don't act very poorly either.
They have really bad lines. They like kind of say things that kids don't really say, but they have one line that I think was like I don't know if we ever like quoted this, but I feel like it felt very familiar to me when I resaw it, where like the kids are yelling at each other like, "Duty head, you're a duty head," and then the girl goes, "Duty head," and just like this through clenched teeth. I love that. Did we quote that a lot?
Yes.
How?
I don't know, but we definitely. I think we would say that to each other. Did we all say it? I don't know.
Duty head? Like, I can't remember like ever saying duty head to you.
We used to say that all the time when we were kids.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, Michael, you're duty head. Rachel.
So we should tell our listeners that part of the purpose of this podcast is so that Xena can really catch up with the stuff that she missed when me and Michael were kids.
Yes.
So that she can feel as though, or we can all feel as though we all grew up together and kind of just really recreate some memories.
Yeah, we just want to recreate memories.
That's mainly the goal. Anything else we didn't cover?
Well, so I have a couple of questions. Oh,
okay.
Wait.
Same.
We already did one. One of the questions I wanted to talk about is what you think it would be like to talk to your own clone.
Ooh,
and
good
also,
question.
I guess it doesn't really work out this way in the movie, but in the movie, it's not really like it's parts of himself that become the clones. They kind of end up having their own sort of personalities in the end.
They're like shades of him now.
They're like shades of him. So I guess I was thinking if you had some clones, what would those personalities be like?
Oh.
What would they end up being like?
Oh.
Which one should we tackle first?
What would they be like?
Okay.
So for me, I feel like one of them, like if I had to get a clone to do my job, he'd be really nerdy. Like more nerdy than I am already. So it would be like somebody that just like doesn't talk to people and just like does computer programming all day.
Very isolative.
Yeah.
Yeah. No interest in hanging out with people at all.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Which is basically me now.
Right. Kind of. But way more.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't have another. I don't know my other shade. That's really the only shade of my personality.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll do one for each of us, and then we'll go around again and do another one.
Okay.
Xena, what do you think?
A shade of my personality, huh? Gosh, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a tough question.
Well,
can you answer for me and I'll answer for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so one of Xena's clones would be like maybe living in a camper with like tons of garbage inside. Like just lots of free
stuff, not garbage.
Not garbage.
Stuff.
No, treasures. Lots of Xena's treasures that she'd have all around the house that are like just waiting to become something great. Something really great. Uh-huh. But mostly Xena is just like hanging out in her camper, smoking weed all day, and, you know, maybe like watching TV or something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Documentaries, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you're like going from weed farm to weed farm and just like working on these farms and sitting in front of the TV trimming weed.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. I should probably hang out with her sometime.
So, what would mine be?
Yours would be, I'm thinking like this very wise, put-together woman who's got tons of insight. If you ever have an interpersonal problem, you can just come to her and she will sit you down with a cup of tea and you'll just talk to her about all your life problems and she'll just like sort it all out. Kind of like the model therapist almost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She sounds really nice.
Yeah, I really need to talk to her sometime.
She sounds kind of like 3.
Yeah, in terms of like very mindful and has good like gratitude practices and is just very calm and centered.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And knows how to TTF.
She's TTF.
She's TTF.
So, do we want to come up with more clones, or do you want to think about like how would you interact with that clone?
I want to answer that. How would I feel like I would be so annoyed with myself. I feel like I have a personality where like I would not be compatible with me. Because when I meet people, like I'm pretty sarcastic, but when I meet people that are also sarcastic, I find it annoying. So I feel like I would just be like, who's this guy? Like, why is he doing this?
Yeah. You don't think you guys would have fun together?
I think there's certain things we would have fun doing together. We would enjoy working together. We'd have very similar views on how to write good software.
Very similar.
Very similar software.
Would you be jealous of him because he's so smart?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a real answer? Do you think you would be jealous of him?
Well, I'm assuming.
So smart?
He would probably get a little smarter than I was, right?
He'd probably make more money than you too.
He might get a little smarter. He probably would make more money because all he's doing is staying home and doing computer stuff.
I don't think I would be that jealous of somebody who's like a little bit smarter than me. As long as he's not obnoxious about it. And if he's kind of like me, he's hopefully not that obnoxious about it.
Do you get jealous of people who are smarter than you?
If they're obnoxious, yeah.
Is that why you're jealous of me?
Yes.
If they're obnoxious, you're jealous by them?
Yeah, if they're very generous with knowing more and like patient with teaching people, then that doesn't bother me at all. But if it's the kind of thing where like you can tell they're smart and like want to rub it in your face, then I don't get along with them.
That makes you jealous, or that makes you just hate them?
Both. Like I'm kind of like wish they weren't smarter than me so that they like couldn't rub stuff in my face.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Xena, how do you think you would get along with Camper Xena?
Well, we probably have a very similar wardrobe. After getting over the initial shock that I'm looking at myself, I think we'd get on fine.
Yeah, your clone is pretty personable and.
Yeah, she really is.
I get along with a lot of people.
Actually, both of your clones are like very easy to get along with. I have the only antisocial clone. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's because you created your own clone.
That's true.
From you came up with it.
That's true.
Maybe if we had come up with a clone for you, it would have been different.
Okay.
Because when I started thinking to myself of what my clone would be like, I immediately started thinking of the negative.
Oh, okay.
So.
Do you have an idea of what your clone would be?
I think I started thinking of like my procrastinator side of myself and thinking like, oh, she would just never get anything done. She'd
always be on the couch with Camper Xena.
She'd basically just be hanging out with Camper Xena on the couch all the time, smoking weed, not doing shit, just not really paying attention to all the stuff that she has to get done.
How do you think you'd get along with Therapist Rachel?
Therapist Rachel? She sounds awesome. I want her to be my therapist.
Yeah, totally.
So I think the lesson is just not to do your own cloning. When you let somebody else clone you, the clone ends up much nicer and fun to hang out with.
So true.
Should we get to our listener question?
Yes.
So we got a ton of listener questions. This podcast is extremely popular, but we had to do just one.
We narrowed it down.
And it comes from our friend Barrick, who asks, "What is your favorite Pauly Shore movie and why?" So, Xena, do you wanna start? First of all, do you know who Pauly Shore is?
What? No.
Who is your favorite person that you think is Pauly Shore?
Are you Pauly
Yes.
Shore?
Yes. So
Are
of
you
my movies.
sure you're Pauly?
Yes. Rachel, what is your favorite Pauly? We've actually talked about this recently.
Well, I don't really know at this point. I don't really remember a lot of Pauly Shore movies. I recently watched In the Army Now, and that sparked my memory that as a child, it sparked joy. And my memory that as a child, I definitely had a huge crush on Pauly Shore.
Really?
And that Pauly Shore is my dream man.
Really? Still?
Yeah, still.
What?
To this day. And Xena, you should really watch a Pauly Shore movie because I'm
going to have to study Pauly Shore.
Love him.
90s Pauly Shore is your dream man? Or like present day Pauly Shore?
No, 90s Pauly Shore.
How do you feel about present day Pauly Shore?
I don't know.
Okay.
They split up.
They split up. He's dating therapist Rachel.
Yeah, I guess I remember a little bit of Son-in-Law. I was thinking that as part of this podcast, I think we should really watch some of the Pauly Shore movies.
The Pauly Shore canon.
Yeah, the Pauly Shore movies that we watched when we were kids.
Yeah.
But I can't really say if I have no memory of any of that, really. What about you?
I think my favorite is Son-in-Law, but it's the only one I can really remember. I remember seeing Jury Duty, and I remember it feeling like long and only a couple parts were funny to me. But I also I saw it really young, so I don't know if I got a lot of it. And then I think I saw In the Army Now. Oh, and then there's also Encino Man, but I have no memory of that. So I think it would be Son-in-Law. I also remember Son-in-Law being funny because of both of our parents are programmers, and there's a part where Pauly Shore is supposed to be a computer expert, and he says something that's totally nonsense. Mm-hmm. And our parents thought that was really funny, that what he said was so off.
Right.
So that's a fond memory I have of Son-in-Law.
Right. You guys love when people don't know about computer programming. So for our listeners, they should all know that our parents are both computer programmers,
right.
And Michael is a computer programmer.
Right. So yeah, most of the movies we're going to watch are just movies about computer programming.
Yeah, and seeing how accurate they are.
How accurate they are. So next is Hackers and The Matrix. Yeah. I'm going to have a lot of notes.
Right.
Okay, I think that about wraps it up. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we should probably thank our sponsors, Stephen Bear.
Stephen Bear of Luthier's of East Hampton.
Luthier's Co-op in East Hampton, Massachusetts, sponsored this podcast.
We're a proud sponsor.
He is our one and only sponsor and supporter and listener.
And if
and
we're looking for other sponsors, we currently, I think our only listener is our moms, but if you're an advertiser that wants to advertise directly to our moms, they're in the market for an alpaca farm, so that's a big ticket item that might be worth sponsoring the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you are one of our moms and just kind of want reminders for us to say stuff on the podcast to remind, you should go pick up milk or something, just send us $100 or something, and we'll be sure to mention it on the podcast.
$100, something like that.
Yeah,
just 100, $200, whatever.
Join our Patreon at $100, and we'll mention we'll read out your to-do list on the podcast. Okay, can people find you? Xena, I don't think anybody can find you on the internet.
No.
You want to just give your home
tried,
address?
So.
Rachel, is there a place people should find you?
People should find me? I don't know.
Okay, we don't know on Facebook.
We're usually on the couch, so.
Tinder. Okay, Cupid.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Deliberate Coder. And the website for this podcast is dustyvcr.com. Probably. We haven't registered yet, so...
it will be.
It will be, and we'll see what the Twitter for this podcast was, and we'll probably be on Facebook and stuff eventually. All right, so thank you everybody for tuning in to Dusty VCR for the first episode. Already our best episode yet.
Yes, I think so.
Thanks, Mom. Come party.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Bye, guys.